In this video, I'll be revealing how we took a brand that had absolutely zero email marketing to adding an extra $80,000 to their top line monthly revenue. We took what many would call a dead email list that hadn't been contacted in over a year into a new profitable marketing channel for their e-commerce store. I'll be walking you through the exact pop-up framework we implemented, the flow automations that we set up, and the campaign strategies that we used to make this turnaround possible just before Black Friday. Oh, and here's the thing, we achieved all of this within the first 60 days of working together. So strap yourself in, this is probably going to be the most valuable video that you watch today. Okay guys, let's run through this step by step, how we took an e-commerce brand from having absolutely zero email marketing to then generating an extra $81,000 in less than 60 days. So let's run through this. First off, the results, of course. This was 30 days before working with us. As you can see, they had absolutely nothing in place, zero flow automations, no campaign sending at all. The only thing they did have was an email list. And because they weren't sending any emails towards that, it was heavily underutilized as a marketing channel. This was 30 days in. As you can see, we've already generated an extra $30,000 for this brand from email. And this was without any store-wide promotions or discounts or anything like that. Of course, we were running up to Black Friday, so we didn't want to do anything like that. We just simply had bigger things to focus on, like setting up the flows, re-engaging the email list, which we will get to in just a sec. And this is 60 days in. So an extra $81,000 generated in just the last 30 days. This is where we had all these systems up and running, actually achieved over 42% email attributed revenue. And of course, we ended with a small weekend Black Friday sale that topped all this thing off. So going on just quickly, who am I? What do? I actually do this for a living. So my name's Kieran. I own an email marketing agency that does specialize in Klaviyo email marketing. There's a bunch of brands we work with, and my social media you can find in the description. But let's get to the meat of this video, which is why you're all here. How did we actually do this? And how did we get these phenomenal results? So we follow a strategy called the Diagnose protocol. It's just something that I made up. But first we diagnose the problem inside the Klaviyo account with a full Klaviyo account audit and action plan. Obviously there wasn't much to audit there. But then once we agree on terms and all of that, and we're ready to get going, we then investigate their target market, product, brand, and competitors, all of that. And then once we get the basics down, obviously research is a big key to that process. We then construct. So this is where a lot of things happen. We build out the new flow automations, get the email campaigns running, even new pop-ups, everything like that. And then the final part of this strategy, or this process, I should say, is the refine part. So this is where we start analyzing everything, what's working, what's not, and begin A/B testing. So you'll see me walk through this process on how we set up this account from pretty much 0 to 100 in less than 60 days. So first off, let me just give you some context, a bit more context about this brand. They're in the outdoor lifestyle industry, selling e-bike DIY parts to consumers. And the founder, he was wearing all the hats. He was focusing on the marketing, the distribution, just everything. And obviously he had no time or any effort to put towards email marketing as a marketing channel. And of course, without much time, you're not going to be knowing any of the industry best practices or really any of the know-how to build an effective system with email marketing to generate consistent revenue from. And on top of that, Black Friday was on the horizon. And of course, like anybody in e-commerce, he wanted to capitalize on that. So that's where he turned to us. And we started with the first step, which is diagnose. So like I just said, this is the Klaviyo audit. Before we onboard any client, we do a Klaviyo audit just to get some grounding of where the account is at. So we cover through everything in the Klaviyo audit, a big macro overview. We then go through your email deliverability, your list growth strategy, flow automations, campaign strategy, copy and design. And of course, if you are doing any A/B testing, which most e-commerce brands, let's be honest, they're not. So after completing this Klaviyo audit, what we found was that they had a pretty sizable email list, about 8,800 recipients, but these people haven't been engaged with in over a year. So they haven't been sent a single email for the last 365 days. On top of that, like we said, they had zero flow automations to help liquidate the ad spend that they're using to drive traffic towards the website. So when someone opts in, there wasn't any emails following up with that customer to convert them into a first-time buyer or even a repeat customer. No weekly campaigns either, especially with an e-bike company. There's a lot of education to be there to actually nurture these customers into, what product, what part is for what, especially with like e-bikes, like batteries and stuff like that. Like how long does this battery last compared to this one? And how does this compare to this? Lots of education to be had here. And without any emails, obviously there was no A/B testing. So for us, it was pretty much a fresh slate to work off. And with the email list already being built, it was pretty much a gold mine waiting to be unleashed. So we had all these email contacts, but they just weren't being sent any emails. So after the Klaviyo audit is complete, this is where we lay out an effective action plan, just all the recommended deliverables that need to happen for us to take this email account from 0 to 100. We also include a 60-day roadmap. So this will actually order the highest leverage tasks compared to the lower leverage ones. So if you don't already know, with email marketing, there is 3 core pillars that you pretty much want to be up and running ASAP before you do anything else like A/B testing or optimizing small little things. Those 3 core pillars are, number 1, a high converting pop-up form, your core flow automations, and just starting to get out consistent weekly campaign emails to nurture that email list. So this was the just example of the action plan that we did. It's very long, it's very detailed. What we do with every new client that we are looking to onboard is that we give them an ROI estimate that they can expect working with us, and a guarantee that if we don't hit those targets, we'll actually give them a full refund. So for this brand in particular, they were averaging around 100K per month in revenue. And with the industry benchmark of email marketing being around 30%, we could say that we could easily add them 20 to 30K per month if we implemented all those deliverables in that action plan. And we said, hey, we'll do that in the next 60 days. But as you can see from those screenshots before, we actually managed to do that in less than 30 days. In just half the time. Okay, so step 2 is investigate, and research is obviously key, especially when onboarding a new client. We actually take 2 to 3 full days just to research their product, brand story, values, ideal customer and target market, and of course their competitors, seeing what they're doing, seeing out any negative reviews, seeing if we can flip that into an email for ourselves. And yeah, it's obviously just very key to generating ideas for the campaign content calendar that we plan out immediately after onboarding, and choosing what type of tone we use in the email copy. For this brand in particular, because they were a DIY e-bike part and accessory type of brand, the audience that they had were almost like kind of like nerdy and very technical people that do appreciate like detailed emails that do go in depth on how to build an e-bike, what battery is best for this, that type of thing. Next step was construct. So this is where we really get to the meat of things, of how actually taking this email account from 0 to 100. So let's get into it. First thing was the pop-up. So with the pop-up, we use an external tool called OptiMonk. OptiMonk allowed us to create a much more smoother and refined pop-up than Klaviyo's. Klaviyo's, if you ever used it, is a bit clunky and hard to optimize on devices, especially when you're clicking on buttons. It's very static and just clunky overall. You can also do weird things like a spin wheel and picking out prizes for like a mystery gift. It's kind of like gamifies it if your store and style allows that. But we created a pop-up, and we actually achieved a really, really high 17% conversion rate, meaning for every 100 people that visited the site, it was 17 people opting into our email list. So that's a huge amount of people that's coming to a website and we're retaining into our email list. As you can see, the proof is right there. Now, how did we create this pop-up? So the first thing that we did was create a micro commitment. So this is where you simply just state the offer and you give the customer an option saying yes or no. So the theory behind this is that if they click yes, they're a bit more committed to fully completing the pop out. So after this step, it would show just the input form for the email. I'll fill out the email and just hopefully continue. And there's just a bit lesser of a drop up rather than just showing the email input form straight away. If they click the button, they're a bit more committed into completely finishing that pop-up. Next thing we did was optimize towards mobile and desktop devices. So this is just some examples here, but obviously mobile and desktop users behave very, very differently. So you also want to have different triggers and different size fonts and text, of course, and just make sure everything is showing up correctly on both devices. So it's just optimized for each. If you're using this in Klaviyo, I usually like to actually just split the pop-ups completely and have the trigger settings set so it only shows up to mobile on the mobile one and only shows up to desktop on the desktop one. And then you can configure one each separately, and it's also a lot more accurate if you're starting to A/B test things as well. Third thing that we did was have a teaser pop up on the desktop version. So we didn't want to do this on a mobile just because smaller screens, having a little pop-up can be annoying. However, on desktop, because you're looking at a much bigger screen, a small little pop-up just on the side here can increase conversions as well. I'm sure you have had a pop-up on you before, and you've just clicked out of it because you didn't really like it because it popped up too soon or something. But as you start shopping and scrolling into the website and you actually do find something you like and you probably want to buy it, then you want to go back to that discount and sign up to get the discount, right? So just having the teaser there for anyone that does exit but then comes back and wants to opt in is always really smart, just to have that on desktop as well. And the fourth thing that we did was A/B test different offers here. So you can see that we had 3 different versions here and one massive outlier converting at 17-18%. And the main thing that we changed here was the actual offer. Something that clearly resonated with the audience a lot more than these other two. And the offer is actually the most important part of your pop-up, right? Much more important than the actual graphical design or any weird trigger that you do. If you have a great offer, people are just going to opt in anyway. So I highly recommend just A/B testing all of these variables, especially the pop-up when trying to optimize your conversion rate. So moving on, like I said before, this email list hadn't been contacted in over a year. That's a full 365 days ago. And as you can imagine, many subscribers would now have either forgotten about this brand completely or just wouldn't be interested anymore. I'm sure if you saw a brand on Instagram and you thought it was pretty cool, you signed up, and then they emailed you a full year later, you probably wouldn't be too interested either. So how we needed to go about this was very, very carefully. We couldn't just send a big email just blasting it to everyone, because if it turned out that the majority of people weren't active, we could have very quickly ruined our email reputation. So we need to do this very carefully. And as you can see from this diagram, there's always going to be a large portion of people in your Klaviyo account with those profiles that just simply aren't active anymore. No matter what you do, your emails are just going to land in their spam, which is fine. We don't need to email to those people. But for this brand in particular, because they haven't been contacted in over a year, we just weren't sure about who was active, who was not. Okay, so the strategy that you want to go and re-engage these profiles is that you first want to break these down into smaller segments. So ideally anywhere between like 500 and 1,000 people in each segment. Now, there's a lot of ways to do this. I usually try to segment people that has placed an order before or 2 orders before, or you could try and segment people that has opted in between a certain time frame. And we'll take a little bit to do, but once you get those small segments all ready, you then want to start creating plain text emails from the founder. And it's really as simple as like saying, hey, it's so-and-so from the brand. Just letting you know we're back and we're coming back full force with our newsletter. We've added plenty of new items back to the store. Check out the new collection here. Stay tuned, that type of thing. It's a very short plain text email, just nice and friendly, of course. And the reason we do plain text is that we're trying to optimize for inbox placement. Plain text emails won't get flagged by the spam filters as much as an email with a lot of images and links. So try to limit this email to either one link or no links at all. And once you get these emails ready, you just want to send them over like a course of a week or 2 weeks, just depending on how much segments you have. Because again, we don't want to blast the entire email list all at once. That's a very fast way to ruin your email deliverability. You just want to closely monitor these emails, making sure you're getting a decent open rate, ideally over 20 or 30%. And then if anyone opens up that email, then they will automatically be put back into our new 30-day engage segment. So with this brand in particular, we actually managed to re-engage 3,500 people out of that 8,800 people that are in the active profiles tab inside of Klaviyo. So quite successful for these people that haven't been contacted in over a year. We managed to get 35 people opening up their emails. The rest probably went to spam, or maybe they're using a different email address by now and just aren't active anymore. So the next thing that we did in terms of re-engaging this email list is, and keep in mind, this is about 2 weeks into working with these people. We've already built out the welcome flow by this time as well. At the same time, sending these re-engagement campaigns. So what we did was we cloned the welcome flow. We changed some of the messaging here, saying, hey, welcome back in, type of messaging. And we set up a custom trigger just like this one, to the re-engaged email list to be filtered and sent through this new welcome flow. And basically this just bought us time while we set up the first few actual campaigns, the first few weekly campaigns, and just gave a really good welcome back in with this email list that's just been re-engaged. So we're just welcoming them back in. This is the segment that we used. If you just want to pause and screenshot that. These were the different smaller email lists that we sent to. And moving on, this is where we get to the creation of the flow automation. So again, this is a huge leverage point in your store if you haven't already got these set up. On average, around 20% of your total store revenue can be captured through these flow automations. So yeah, it was very, very huge to get this up and running ASAP for this brand. And for this brand in particular, they just wanted to get the core flows built out as fast as possible. So that meant setting up the welcome flow, abandoning checkout, abandon cart, abandon browse, post-purchase, and the customer win back. So this is kind of like very similar to how it looked like set up inside of Klaviyo. And just 3 weeks in, these flows are all fully operational and generating revenue. And as you can see, just over the course of the 60 days, we managed to generate $77,000 just from setting up these flow automations. So this is when we started working with them, and it took us about 2 weeks to start getting the first few online. And as you can see, the revenue just grows on from there. Okay, so heading on to the campaign strategy. So like I said before, Black Friday and Cyber Monday was on the horizon, and we didn't want to put out any promotions before the big weekend. Our main focus was really just to re-engage these people and start sending them a consistent amount of value-based and non-promotional emails, just to nurture and build up that trust back before dropping the big sale on them. So here's some of the campaign metrics. As you can see, we shot up straight away up to averaging around 50% open rate, which is very, very strong for an email list that has just got re-engaged. And yeah, really strong click rate as well. Just re-engaging all the subscribers. So here's the results here as well. You can see pretty consistent revenue from an email list that's just been re-engaged. Some of the email campaigns ideas that we used that were non-promotional was things like a customer success story, just showing off a really good review there and just breaking it down. Benefits of some of the products and what their main use cases were. A really good us versus them email. So we actually had I want to say a competitor, but yeah, almost like a competitor that we compared themselves to, and actually had a YouTube video in there as well. Especially with this brand, DIY nature. There's a lot of tutorials we could send to and direct traffic to. And then we also had a customer review showcase, and then a back in stock email that had a few parts coming back in around the same time that we re-engaged this email list. Okay, so in terms of the Black Friday strategy, it was a short 5-day Black Friday sale just over the big weekend. And I'll show you exactly what we did here because it consisted of an announcement email and just hyping up that email list, just preparing them mentally that, hey, we've got a Black Friday sale coming up. A big drop email with a resend included, a few sale
reminders, and then a last chance email. And another little trick here that we did was, of course, include plain text emails from the founder. Black Friday being such a busy time, we wanted to optimize and get our emails to the primary inbox as much as we could, with plain text being the forefront of that. And another thing that's a little trick that we did was actually include countdown timers. So there's a website called sendtrick.com that you can actually get a code and it will put a live timer in your email. So we were counting down like, hey, this email's ending in 24 hours, and they had a live countdown timer in the email, and that just increased a lot of urgency and got a lot of people to buy straight away. So this was some of the results over Black Friday. 23% open rate, that was obviously the resend, but still consisted really high click rates and open rates from the customers over this sale. So step 4 is refine, and this is pretty much where the step we are right now in the timing of filming this video. But I can tell you what exactly we're about to do heading into this phase now that we've got all the systems up and running. Because without consistent optimization, you're always going to be squeezing around 80% of your email revenue without starting to A/B test things and actually dive deeper in what's working, what's not. So the first thing that we're going to be focusing on is actually A/B testing the pop-up. Trying more different offers, see if we can increase that anymore. Images used, A/B testing different images, header and subtext copy, different trigger times, seeing if we have use a micro commitment versus maybe no micro commitment at all. Then we want to start A/B testing the flows, campaigns, things like subject line, days of the week we're sending, what days of the week are people most active on generally, plain text versus graphic emails, having the navigation bar at the top versus the bottom of the email. So this is where all the collection buttons are replaced. Less copy versus more copy emails. So do the email lists actually like those longer emails that we would go a bit more in depth, or do they like more infographic styled emails with a lot less copy? And then obviously for the campaign strategy, pretty much this month in December, we're looking towards whether or not we up the weekly campaigns to a consistent 3 per week. And the main things that we would be looking at that to see if that is worth doing is that, are we consistently still getting high open and click rates? Are we still generating revenue consistently from each and every email campaign? And is our unsubscribe rate healthy on each email campaign? If all those things have a big green tick, then it's probably worth, upping the volume of campaigns to generate more overall revenue from email marketing. So these are some of the things that we're looking to do in this refine phase, heading into the next 30 days, 60, and so on. So as a bit of a wrap up, this is what they pretty much had after working with us at Compound Flows. So of course we do a full dump view service. So we actually took this entire marketing channel off the founders' hands, and this freed up a lot of their time inside the business to be working on bigger leverage things. Their email flow automations, which we built out in less than 30 days, now generates on average around $45,000 on autopilot. And we also created a full campaign strategy in place, and we're mixing a lot of educational content with sales and promotions as well. But on top of all that, we created a new, reliable, consistent, and most importantly, profitable marketing channel for their store, bringing in around $60,000 to $80,000 per month now on. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, my email is kieran@compoundflows.com. And if you are an e-commerce brand watching this, wanting to get similar results, my offer to you is that we'll actually do a free Klaviyo audit and action plan, plus 2 free campaigns to send to your email list. The only things we're looking for is that you're over 50K per month and you're looking to scale to new heights. So there's a strategy call with a link down in the description. We can book in a time there. Let's talk about it. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching and hope you learned something.